This is Australia, and this is the capital, Canberra. It was founded in 1913 as a planned city. This is the city of Melbourne, soon to be larger than New York by 2050. It was once actually called Tasmania. The largest city is Sydney, and it has a metropolitan area of close to 6 million people. The next largest city after Melbourne is Brisbane, and it has a population of around 3 million people, but is part of a wider area called Southeast Queensland, which also includes the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast. And all the way over here is the City of Churches, Adelaide. And within this area through here, 99% of Australia's population live. And within here, the other 1% live. And within that 1% population here, 99% of it lives in this section of Perth. There are also other capital cities like the Northern Territories, Darwin, and one on the island of Tasmania called Hobart. Australia has multiple states like the state of Western Australia, and the city of Perth is the most remote city in the world with a population over 1 million people. There's actually about 3 million people in Perth. And along here is one of the longest roads, continuous roads without petrol stations or gas stations, the Nullarbor. You'll often see signs that remind you to fill up, to take rest. There are many crashes along this road too, just due to fatigue. There is also an outback town here called Alice Springs, which has one of the most dangerous crime rates in the world. It often sits between 15th to 25th most dangerous place or city in the world, up there with places in Brazil and South Africa. It is within the territory of the Northern Territory, or NT for short. Next to it is South Australia, and then we have Queensland, which actually doesn't have a perfectly straight border, and nor does the state of New South Wales, as the border follows the Murray River right until here, where then it becomes straight. The Murray River is a huge food production and source of water for the region. And then down here we have the state of Tasmania with close to 600,000 citizens. Queensland is one of the fastest growing states in Australia, with a huge population of retirees who just want to get away from the cold in the south and live it up in the heat. Also, lots of families are moving to this area. Along here we have the Great Barrier Reef, which is protected. And the reason why a lot of the population live along this black line is because of this mountain range through here called the Great Dividing Range. And it was very challenging for explorers to get across in the early days. And this leads up into the Daintree rainforest, where you'll see interesting creatures like the cassowary. From about this line here, you'll encounter crocodiles at the beach, and it's not recommended that you swim in ocean. This side, south, is safe at the beach, although it has been known that some crocodiles have ventured south. It is also not recommended to swim up around this area, Darwin as well, due to crocodiles, although Darwin does have a enclosed man-made beach. Australia's nearest neighbour is not what you think. A lot of you probably think it's New Zealand, but it's actually quite far away. Australia's nearest neighbours are Papua New Guinea to the north, or PNG, Or very bizarrely, that a lot of people don't know, this place here, Christmas Island, is owned by Australia. It is a territory and it is quite close to Indonesia and Jakarta, making Indonesia one of our closest neighbors. And also, France is one of our closest neighbors over here, with New Caledonia being considerably close. This area through here is known as the dollar place, where all our money comes from and our resources, iron ore, huge producers sent offshore to China and the Middle East. There's a few weird towns that sit on a map, like here we have the town of Broken Hill, despite being in New South Wales, has a time zone that goes with Adelaide, so it often has a different time to its capital city in Sydney, goes by Adelaide time. Here we have Mount Isa, which has very thick air and can be difficult to breathe, as it is a coal and iron ore city. Just off Perth, there is a tiny little island called Rottnest Island, and if you've ever seen quokkas before, it is the place where you can go to visit them. There is also a train journey that you can take up this way through South Australia into Alice Springs, heading north. You can also drive this route as well, often with a 130k speed limit or unrestricted. The furthest point up here is Cape York, and the furthest east is at Byron Bay, at Cape Byron, where there is a cool lighthouse. And did you know that Canberra also has a little bit of land here, so it has sea access, called Jervis Bay. There are some also incredible lakes within South Australia, like Lake Eyre, which can often be quite considerably flat. There are many Indigenous people that live out in the outback of Australia and still live off the land. The largest inland non-capital city, not Canberra, is a place high up on the Great Dividing Range called Toowoomba, and it has a population of around 120,000 people. To this side, we have the Pacific Ocean, which heads to Hawaii, South America, and the USA. And this side, we have the Indian Ocean, which heads to Africa. And to the south, we have the Great Aussie Bight, or the Great Australian Bight, and it's because it looks like someone took a bite out of Australia. And to the south, we have the Southern Ocean, and that heads down to Antarctica. The reason why that Canberra is where it is because it is considered to be in the middle of Melbourne and Sydney, because Melbourne actually was Australia's capital before Canberra was founded. There's a very cool place over here called Shark Bay, and it's got sharks, lots of sharks, but I don't think it lives up for its name to be called Shark Bay, although most of the shark attacks within Australia do occur along this section. So we're going to call this the shark attack zone, but not as many people die from sharks as you would think. You are more likely to be hit by a kangaroo driving along this road here and get injured or die than you would being attacked by a shark. Early settlement in Australia occurred just to the south of Sydney CBD in a place called Port Botany, but there is also a place just south of Hobart where they also settled, and it is a notorious prison called Port Arthur. So what is all this through here that we haven't labeled? This is actually all desert. You don't want to be trapped out here. And right near where you see Yalara, we have Uluru, the famous giant rock. So what is each state known for? Well, WA is known for the vast outback. South Australia often has a reputation for being lots of churches in Adelaide, the city of churches. Northern Territory is more desert. In Lots of indigenous people live there, and we also have Kakadu National Park. Queensland is all about the sun and the surf. New South Wales is where a lot of our commerce comes from, and Melbourne is our cafe and culture centre. Did you also know that in this section here, through here into Victoria, we have snowfields? That's right, you can go skiing and snowboarding in Australia. There's also some down in Tasmania, but it is much smaller. And this island here is called Kangaroo Island. Yes, there are kangaroos on it, but people also live on it too. So this is Australia, home to about 26, 27 million people, with the largest immigrants being the British. We also have about a 3 to 4% indigenous population, and we also have about 2 to 7% Chinese and Indian population as well. So, would you live in Australia, or do you live in Australia?